What's up, everybody? There's a new show coming together over at DC Studios as Tom King is set to adapt his own book, Mr. Miracle, as an animated series. Let's dive into this story. This new DC Studios show was announced at Annecy Animation Festival, and all indications point to it being an almost completely faithful adaptation to the beloved story. It was a 12-issue comic, and so with that, I'd assume it's going to end up being about a 10 to 12 episode show. If I had to put my best guess out there, is that would almost work perfectly with a straight-up adaptation of this graphic novel that's about 300 pages. Now, I'm sure Tom King will do something similar to what Robert Kirkman has done with Invincible and make some changes to things that he wishes he had done differently the first time around, and he might have to do some of that just to make it fit into James Gunn's DCU. But it's also unclear at this point if it's even going to be in Gunn's DCU or if it's going to be an Elseworld show, so we don't necessarily need to worry about that just yet. The show is described as a harrowing, hilarious, heart-wrenching journey across the pitfalls of the ordinary and the extraordinary as the son of God raised by the devil tries to save his family, his world, and maybe even himself. Which, for those of you that have read the comic, I think you'll agree here that that sounds perfectly in line with the original story. But to me, someone who loves that story, I'm definitely glad they're staying faithful here. It's just this story has some pretty major deaths in it that could be happening way too early if it's set in James Gunn's DCU. But there are a lot of people who think this story, was kind of a dream sequence of sorts because it starts with an attempted suicide by Scott Free, aka Mr. Miracle. Personally, I've always seen this story as events that did happen because I chose to believe that Mr. Miracle could in fact escape death. So, bottom line, I lied. We do need to worry if this show is set in the DCU because it's running back the same mistakes that Warner Bros. And DC and Zack Snyder made when they were building the DCEU. It's self-sabotage. But for those of you who are planning on reading this book now that the show has been announced, this is going to be your spoiler warning because I do have to mention those two people by name who died to explain why it's going to be a mistake, so you've been warned. The first one is Mr. Miracle's adopted brother, Orion. If you don't know the backstory there, Orion and Scott were traded as children by their fathers in a peace deal of sorts. Scott, he's the son of Isaiah, the High Father of the New Genesis gods, and Orion is the son of the Great Darkseid. He's even the one to take out his son in this story. But the second death is the one that I think would be more disruptive to the longevity of the DCU of Gunn's DC universe, and it's Darkseid himself. Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, his wife who was bred in a lab on Apocalypse, kill him at the end of this story, only for Calibac to continue ruling Apocalypse as his father Darkseid did. The point is, in my opinion, killing Darkseid in an animated series especially, and I'm not an animated hater, I love animation, but the truth of the matter is, less people watch it than live action. It's the equivalent to killing Superman in the second movie of your universe. It's a terrible idea. However, if this does end up being an Elseworlds project and we're just, getting an animated voice version of this story like so many of the Batman stories and Superman stories and Justice League stories, I'm all in. It's an incredibly powerful story with a heavy mental health discussion and interesting family stuff too, so there's lots of riches. It's just, I don't think it's a good fit for a brand new universe. Then real quick, I do have some actors in mind to voice these characters and potentially appear in live action, I guess, if that ever comes to be. I mean, they do in a way, I guess you could say they get sent to a new universe at the end of this story, but I don't know that that's exactly what it is. It's a very ambiguous ending for this story, so it's all up in the air. It's just my opinion, honestly. But if they do get sent to a new universe here, there you go. They're in the DCU, and this story didn't affect anything. So we'll finish on this. There's only one choice for Big Barda in my eyes, and that's Gwendolyn Christie. I love Katie O'Brien, but she's way too short for this. I know the fans want it. It's all that I've been seeing, Dev Patel and Katie O'Brien, but you need a true tower of a chick who can act here, and that's Gwendolyn, who's no stranger to franchises. But with Mr. Miracle, I do have a couple of options, and funny enough, the first is the brother of an actor who plays a god in the MCU, and that's Liam Hemsworth. I used to be one of the people who didn't know there were multiple Hemsworths, but Liam was damn good as the lead in the movie Land of Bad last year, or 2 years ago. I'm blinking on when it came out, and I think this would be a solid opportunity to be a strong lead once again for Liam. However, I do love the fan casting I just mentioned of Dev Patel. That would just be a great get in general for DC Studios in any capacity. I've really enjoyed some of his work recently, like Green Knight and Monkey Man, and it feels like he's at that point in his career where these major franchises are itching to get him under their belt before another one does, so why not DC? And my final pick, and one I'm kind of iffy about, is Logan Lerman. I'm not quite sure why his name came to mind, but it just did when I was thinking of who I could see as scot-free, and so he made the list. I guess, he does kind of have the look that comes to mind when I think of Mr. Miracle in live action, but I barely have seen Logan in anything, so I'm not quite sure where this pick came from. And so that's going to do it for today's video. This show somehow could make or break the new DCU, but for now, I'm just going to pretend that it's Elseworlds and I'll be excited about it. But let me know what you think about this news down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.